Howdy, folks, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. And tonight we got a great show for you. We got things going on with shamanism, and with my co-host, the shaman himself, Hawkeye Two Feathers. Welcome to the show.
Greetings and blessings, everybody. And as always, we welcome you with the greatness of the great creator. And we hope that you all are doing as well as possible. And we got cold weather as far as South Georgia. So everybody's bundled up. So I hope you're warm tonight. We hope you're warm tonight.
It's nothing for us pros in North Dakota. Yeah, we just do it well out here.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. Let's see. Even Scotty Boy says 52 degrees. So cold out there. Everywhere's getting a little bit of that nippiness. Well, I tell you what, it's going to warm up. I believe it will warm up soon. Yep, spring's right around the corner.
Yeah, not too soon, because this weekend it's supposed to be 25. So.
Well, you know how that goes. Oh, yeah, not soon enough for you, right?
It's all right. We can stand. I can stand a little cold weather. It helps the fruit trees to do their thing, and so I can stand a little bit of cold weather. My back has trouble carrying wood this year, but it's all right. We got it covered. I wish Duggar could carry wood.
You can get him a little backpack.
Yep.
Don't you think? I've seen people do that. They got these little backpacks for them dogs, and then they just carry that.
He wouldn't hold still long enough for me to do it. He'd be done run off somewhere.
Anyway, tonight we're going to be talking about shamanism. How about that? I hope you know something about that. Oh, yes, you do.
A little bit, yeah.
I knew you would. Anyway, we're going to do the best we can. Oh, look at my picture. I just fell down here. Oh, that's my camera tip. What the heck is going on with this thing? I just adjusted it. I had it all set. It was doing real good. I guess I bumped the table. Yeah, even F Kitty says move to southwestern desert Utah. And it's a bit cold here too. Bad weather and all. Yeah. Southwestern Utah. Utah's even cold. Everywhere's cold. Elderberry's in the house. Off the hook. Scotty Boy. We got them all going on here. Anyway, let's get right into this. And you just pipe in when you feel like it. But I got lots of stuff to present. And we're going to talk about this. If I can finally share my screen once I get it up here. I got so many opens. Oh, yeah, I'm going to do this, and I got to do that, and I got to do this, and that, and here we go. Anyway, how am I going to do that? I never thought about that. I got too many screens. Yeah. Good for me, right? There we go. I'm just trying to figure out how to swing all these over. So while you're trying to survive the cold winter, but there's climate change and global warming. You shouldn't have to worry about it. This may be the last cold winter you'll ever see. You know what I mean? Just ask Al Gore.
I hope not, because for fruit trees down here in the South, we need so many cold days, so many hours of coldness. And so if this is, the last couple of years, some of our fruit trees have just not bared any fruit at all. And it's like, nah, come on now. We'll stand a little bit of cold to have some fruit in the spring.
Yeah.
At least I will. Got to put up with it anyway. Might as well do the fruit trees some good, you know?
That's right. That's right. Let's see. Off the Hook says the days are flying by. Yes, it seems like the days are getting shorter and shorter. I don't know about that. Lately, they seem like they're longer and longer. It was really
Yeah,
short
they
there
are.
for about, but
Yeah, we've passed the winter solstice, and that was the shortest day of the year. And so
yeah,
from here on out, they're going to, until next year, the days are going to be getting longer.
absolutely. Gonna get a little bit longer, and that's a good thing because now I'm getting home in the light instead of the dark. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
nicer that way. Okay, so we're going to talk about shamanism. And shamanism is the supposed individual control of the supernatural through a personally acquired power of communication with the spirit world. Rests upon much the same basis in California. There you go, Scotty boy, as elsewhere in North America. In general, among uncivilized tribes, the simpler the stage of culture, the more important the shaman. Isn't that weird? It is as if he constituted an element that remained nearly constant in quantity of effect as the fundamentality of unvarying in form through all successive periods of civilization to the highest, but that as increased in degree of civilization. So the more civilization you got, the less important he was. The less civilization, the more important. So, now of course we all have just doctors here, and they just practice, and you get the part with the practicing. You could probably tell us a whole book on that practicing part, right?
Yeah, buddy.
Okay, civilization brought along more and more elements and new elements of religious and otherwise other things that went with the shaman. And these unfolded and they more and more expanded in complexity. He became relative to the total mass of thought and action of the people, less and less important. Certainly, the difference is between the Eskimo, whose religion consists of little else than shamanistic or shamanism, and the much more highly organized Indians of the northern Pacific coast, where shamanism is but one of several and by no means the most important religious factor, even though it may be the most deep seated. The state contrast it is found between the rude, simple-minded Indians of California as compared to those of the plains of the Southwest, where the supremacy.
Whoa, hang on.
What?
Simple-minded?
I'm just, yeah,
I
they
know,
said,
but you said jump in anytime.
yeah,
I'm sorry, simple-minded?
that's what it says. It says
Well,
they
it
were
must have been
no.
written by a white man, you
It
know.
was. It was.
Yeah, it had to have been because, simple-minded? I'm sorry. I go back and start that little bit over. But
Yeah.
they were well. Let's quantify maybe for a second, if you don't mind, what simple-minded might mean. Because to someone from Spain, for example, because they were basically the first ones up the West Coast,
Yeah.
that
So
discussed over the years. I can't believe it's been years, but in that it was anything but simple, and so. But to the white man, they're using arrows and arrowheads, and they're flint knapping their stuff, and they're still living in teepees and things, and so they got to be simple minded. But I think we've shown over these last year and a half at least that the natives were anything but simple-minded. So
Oh yeah.
whoever wrote that, shame on them, simple-minded.
Well, and he's comparing groups of Indians too. Like here he says, excuse me. He says the Pacific Coast, where shamanism is but several and no means the most important religious factor. The same contrast is found between the rude, simple-minded Indians of California as compared with those of the plains in the Southwest. So it's saying that the plains Indians and the Southwest Indians are more advanced, and the people in the Indians of California were just simple-minded.
Period.
Yeah, rude, simple-minded. He doesn't even just say simple-minded. He says the rude, simple-minded Indians of California, meaning they were just really dumb.
I can't. That's hard to believe. I guess
I know.
along the Pacific coast, there was a lot of ways to be able to, eat fish and different seafoods and so forth. So in a way, they were more simple in that they didn't have to go as far, and they didn't have to chase down buffalo, and they didn't have to skin them, and they didn't have to do all these things. So in a way, their preparation of things was more simple. But it cringes me to think that they wrote down simple-minded. But anyway, continue, my friend.
Hang on a second. I gotta go.
So, but history is written by those who won the war, and the opinions of the white man. The California natives were more simple than the Plains Indians. I find that hard to grasp. And if they were rude, I'm wondering if somehow he had met some natives along the West Coast, and they had kind of sort of, ticked him off in some way. Whoever this person is that was writing about the simple-mindedness of the natives. And I want to point out, while Robert's doing whatever he's doing, that if you've ever tried to, live simply as a pioneer, it ain't never simple. There's a lot of things you need to know. So, for the simple-minded Indian, they had to know how to make bows and arrows. They had to know how to do whatever they were doing. So, from the observer of the white man, they were simple-minded.
Yeah, I know.
They had to know a lot of stuff in order to survive. That's all I got to say.
Well, yeah. Thanks for covering. The UPS man at this time of night is delivering packages. He's working extra overtime. Go figure. I was like, what the? I seen lights and I'm like, do you know where I live? Nobody comes here.
And that's probably why he's so late. He's like, nobody comes out here.
That's probably right. I gotta drive 3 hours to get this one package.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Anyway, I wonder what I ordered. But anyway.
You're the reason the prices have gone up on delivery.
That's right. It's all my fault. Oh boy. Let's go on here. Let's see. California difference holds in the Northwest, where the native civilization reached on a whole its greatest complexity. So in the Northeast, things were complex, and the shaman is less prominent than anywhere else in the state. In the South, where the structure is also more developed than the central part of the state, the shaman is certainly as much dreaded as there, but that his prominence is more restricted is shown by the fact that in the Southern California, the shamans, in their capacity as such, do not seem to form associations, perform public ceremonies, or directly participate in tribal dances. The power of the shaman being directly dependent upon his personal acquisition of a connection with the supernatural world, and understanding of the method by which his acquisition takes place generally furnishes also a pretty accurate idea of the nature of his functions and influence. The most common way of acquiring shamanistic power in California, as in so many other parts of the world, is by, you guessed it, dreaming. A spirit, be it that of an animal, a place, the sun, or any another natural object, is deceased relative or an entirely unembodied spirit, visits the future medicine man in his dreams, and the connection thus established between them is the source and base of the latter's powers. This spirit becomes his guardian spirit or personal spirit, from which he receives the song or rite or knowledge of the charm and the understanding which enable him to cause or remove disease and do and endure what other men cannot. In California, where a few special exemptions, the idea does not seem so prevalent as elsewhere that this guardian spirit is an animal. Occasionally, it is the ghost of a person who has once lived, usually a relative. Perhaps most frequently, it is merely a spirit such not connected with any tangible embodiment or form, either human or an animal, or inanimate like a rock. The belief that the shaman acquires the spirits most frequently is by dreaming, prevalently through the whole Sierra Nevada region and in many other parts of the state. So I think they're talking mostly about California here.
Yeah,
But
it sounds like it.
yeah, so I think this guy is comparing California with other places. It says in certain regions, other important method of the walking vision and trance is recognized. The person is in a wild, desolate place, perhaps hunting. Suddenly, there's an appearance before him. He becomes unconscious, and while in that state, receives his supernatural power. On his return to his people, he is, for a time, demented or physically affected. Well, there you go. They're still having that happen in California. Yeah,
They're still demented.
as I hear it, they just, while you walk down the street and they're all physically demented walking around, after they've taken some drugs and received their supernatural power.
There you go. They are invincible.
Yeah. After he becomes normal, he can control his supernatural influences. Such beliefs prevail in part among the Yuki and the Ababaskans of the coastal range, and the Madu, I think it's Adu, of the Sacramento Valley. Is there any left in there at Sacramento Valley, or are they yeah, I wouldn't even know. I mean, there's so many people that live there in that area of California. Who knows? And no doubt occur more or less periodically in other regions. Let's see. Finally, the shaman sometimes acquires his powers through seeking for them rather than by having them thrust upon him during a dream or vision. This, of course, is a common procedure in the plains and in part of the North Pacific coast. Among the York or the lower Kalmath, for instance, the person whom the spirits have visited in dreams ascends high peaks where he spends one or more nights until he has acquired his powers. Hey, that sounds like the where in like in India where the old man walks to you find the guy at the top of the mountain and you climb all the way there to find what you need to know, right?
Right.
Among the Wynot or the Humboldt Bay, there are similar beliefs. In the same northwest region, a man who wishes to be fierce, strong, and invulnerable swims at night in lakes inhabited by monsters or thunders. I don't know what monsters or thunders would be living in those lakes. From these, if his courage is sufficient to await and endure their presence, he receives the desired powers. This practice of bathing in lonely lakes closely recalls the custom prevalent among the Pacific slope for some distance toward northward. And within California, it is probably not strictly confined to the northwestern culture area. All I'm thinking is what monsters could be there would be like, what, a seal, maybe a killer whale. You know, so there's big fish in the ocean there, big lakes and stuff. You know what I mean? That could be a
Yeah, well, it
spirit.
was just common knowledge that legends that there were monsters in the lakes and that they came out at night. So whether there was actually a monster in the lake, they were
Yeah,
told there was.
yeah, and then yeah, that feeds off of people's okay. Northwestern area is not only exceptional in being the principle of within the state where the deliberate seeking of shamanistic power is prevalent. You know, see, I always thought you just grew up to be a shaman or something, but apparently you seek it out. Um, I guess I don't know. The conception of the guardian spirit is much
Hang on,
less clearly
hang,
defined.
hang on. Go
Okay.
back to what you just said about you thought what?
Well, it says here, being a principle of with one in the state where this deliberate seeking of a shamanistic power is prevalent. You know, so you go out and seek to be a shaman. So you decide you're going to be a shaman instead of a warrior. You're going to be, you know, I guess it'd be like saying I'm going to be a doctor instead of a lawyer. Or I'm going to be a, you know, a doctor instead of a warrior, or I'm going to be the doctor instead of a fisherman or something, you know, or a guy who I'm a
There's some
farmer.
to become a
No,
shaman, you have to be hit over the head with it. In other words,
really.
you know, it's sort of like in retro, well, in a comparison, maybe in the Christian religion, you know, they had a vision from God, and they, you know, started working, you know, for the church or whatever. It would be similar in that they're walking along one day and something just hits them out of the blue, and they realize, you know, I got to start working for the Creator.
Yeah. Hmm.
So it's
Yeah.
very similar. You know, there are, um, as I understand it, in certain tribes and cultures, there are, you know, youngins that are, especially if they show an aptitude when they're young, that they are groomed through life. But as a general rule, you can't just make somebody a shaman. They got to want it. They
Yeah.
really got to want it.
Yeah. You'd have. Yeah. Exactly. Um, Yeah, I think this whole article is really talking about, you know, California mostly because it goes on here. It's talking about southern parts of California. The Mohave shamans believe that they were present at the beginning of the world. More mankind has separated into tribes. They were with the great leader and almost creator, Mashtamo, I guess. They saw him singing, blowing, and rubbing over the body of a sick man. In their own power, be that the curing of a disease. From Mashtamo, they thus learn the actions and speeches which constitute their power. Hmm. Okay. The Mohave universally
I think that's Mojave.
Mojave. Oh, okay, yeah, I guess it would be Mojave. Yeah, yeah. Sorry, you know
It's
me.
okay.
The Mojave universally speak of having dreamed these scenes, such as each narrator affirms his knowledge of non-shamanistic myths and ceremonies to have been individually derived from dreaming them. Yeah, see, now, you know, when you talk about, it says here, I think we talked about religion on whatever show I was on and doing, and like if you were in the Christian religion, they give you these pamphlets. There's like a hierarchy, you know, and it comes down and says everybody across the world today is going to read this part of this book, and we're all going to pray sing these songs, pray these words, look at this text in the Bible, right? And
Right.
so there's no individuality except for when the priest gets up there and gives his little, rendition of whatever that was meant. And, so it's individualized. But other than that, it's all scripted. And every church you go to is going to have the same exact script. But here, which is kind of nice, is they didn't have these scripts. Of course, they lived in little tribes. It says each one did his own individual dreaming, and then he, put that forth and so on. And so there was probably lots of different beliefs, I suppose, in each tribe, or different collectives. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There were certain things that, like if you were from a particular tribe, if the shaman was doing a ceremony, which way did he face? Did he face the north, the west, the east, south? What things were on his medicine blanket? Was he using sweetgrass or sage, or did he have real tobacco, or was it, what they considered Indian tobacco? Probably Indian tobacco, because real tobacco was so difficult to get. But so in these things, and the reason I say this is because I had a medicine man stay with me for 9 months several years ago. It's been about 10 years ago now. In fact, it has been 10 years. But so when we were going through some things, I'd laid out my medicine blanket, and he asked me, he said, "Where did you learn how to do this?" And I said, "Well, through reading, but mostly dreams." And he looked at me and he said, "You learned this stuff from dreams?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I was kind of guided that, this should go over here and this should go over there and blah, blah." And he just shook his head and he said, "Yeah, you've had communication with the spirits." So, but, there are some people who like, "Here's a blanket, here's some stuff. What do you do it?" And they just shrug their shoulders and go, "I don't know." And then there are those people who know where to put it on the blanket, or know how to ask, "Where should I put this on the blanket?" So there are levels of consciousness, and those folks who seem to be really tied in somehow, I don't see, maybe, I guess over the years, I've been tied into nature because of how I live and living in the swamp in the backyard and that kind of thing. But where somebody who, grew up in New York City is not going to have the same kind of feeling that I do for nature, not that they can't, mind you, but simply because it's all around me all the time. I don't have to go anywhere to get into nature. But so from a shaman standpoint, there are things that are taught in dreams. And I couldn't believe it, how much I had learned from dreams. And of course, I did a lot of reading, and I also did a lot of, discussion with other medicine people over the years and elders. So it wasn't just from dreams, but I was surprised, and so was he, as to how much I actually knew that was correct.
Oh, yeah. Which is a big thing, yeah. Because I suppose, it ain't like that is like given out real freely to everybody. You know what I mean? It ain't like you can sit down and read a book about it.
That's exactly. You kind of got to learn with or through someone. You really do. I mean, this idea of, well, you can just read a book or something, become a medicine man. No, you can't. I'm sorry. I'm still a shaman in training, and I've been at this for a long time. And I'm here to tell you, there's a lot more to learn. But sometimes I say the human body, and I mean the whole thing. There's only so much you can absorb. Yeah. And so the universe only gives you enough to not overload you, but to make sure that you got enough to where you're not bored, if that makes any sense. So the information that you get, whether it be in dreams or meditation or, with talking with other people or elders or whatever, the universe will only give you as much as you can handle
Yeah.
most of the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that it will. Yeah. Well, I think that's life in general. And anytime you get more than that, it takes you down somehow or not too. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But anyway,
It overwhelms you.
yes, overwhelms. Yep. Well, now we're going to go to a special class of shamans found to a greater or lesser extent to probably all the central tribes. Through they are wanting both in the northwest and south, and so-called bear doctors. You never heard of a bear doctor? Shamans who have received their power from grizzly bears, often by being taken into the abode of these animals, which appear their human form, and who, after their return to mankind, possesses many of the qualities of a grizzly bear, especially his apparent invulnerability to be attacked or a fatal attack. The bear shamans can not only assume the form of bears as they do in order to inflict vengeance on their enemies, but it is also believed that they can be killed an indefinite number of times when in this form, each time returning to life. In some regions, as among the Pomo and the Yukai, the bear shaman was thought as elsewhere to actually become a bear. Yeah, but to remain a human man who clothed himself in the skin of a bear to his complete disguisement, and by his malevolence, being rapid fierceness and resistant to wounds, to be capable of inflicting greater injury than a true bear. Wherever any bear shamans actually attempted to disguise themselves in this way to accomplish their ends is doubtful, but it is certain that all members of some tribes believed it to be their power. Wow. So, do you ever hear of a bear shaman?
No, actually. And I've
Well,
read a bunch of stuff, but I've not heard of a bear shaman.
well, how about that? And now we go to a rattlesnake doctor. The rattlesnake doctor who cured or prevented the bite of a rattlesnake was usually distinct from other medicine men. Among the Yuki, his power as that of the rattlesnake was associated with the sun. Among the Mundai, or with the thunder. Among the Yukorts, the rattlesnake shamans annually held a public ceremony designed to prevent rattlesnake bites among the tribe. On this occasion, they displayed their power over the snakes by handling them in a manner same as kind of like the Hopi, and by even allowing themselves to be bitten. Well, that kind of show could be fatal. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Oh boy, your medicine no big. You get bit, die. Okay, let's see. We're going to go this one here. You see the picture. It looks like disease. So, disease, as among most primitive people, the world over, was usually held to be the cause of a small material object which had, in a supernatural way, been caused to enter the body. The determination and extraction of these was the principal office of the medicine man, and also, as elsewhere, was most frequently accomplished by sucking. In certain regions, especially the South, the tubular pipe was brought into a requisition for this purpose, the disease object being supposed to be sucked into the doctor's mouth through it. Among these tribes, the pipe was also smoked by the medicine man as part of his ritual. In other cases, the sucking was performed directly into the mouth, but just as the disease causing object had by supernatural means entered the body without causing or leaving an opening. And you can see this guy. I got a picture in here of the guy sucking. There he is. There is. I think he's got a bone there. Maybe that's a bone. Kind of looked like a sucking thing, But
It
anyway.
is a bone because that was all they could do to hollow out to use as a sucking instrument.
Oh, okay. Well, that's what I thought. It looked that represented to me like he was doing the sucking with the bone thing, you know.
Yeah, that's the straw.
Oh, okay. Well, then I got it right. I got it right.
Yeah,
Okay.
they hollowed out it, and depending on, if it might have been a bear bone, or it could have been a buffalo bone, or it could have been a moose bone or something, So it would depend on the medicine man, and I want to say basically the belief. So here, this bone is used for your medicine for you to do this with. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And as you can see, this one here, he did public ceremonies, public observances, one mourning ceremonies, initiation ceremonies, uh, and a very groups of dances, observances, other things like that. Things that would cause a ceremony would be for good crops, natural products, avoidance of rattlesnake bites, disease, earthquake, flood, and other calamities that may befall you. And so these ceremonies, there was different ceremonies that he would perform in public, not just for individual. Let's see. We're going to go to. Oh, they used drums like this to beat around you to help you out. Okay, things that Native Americans did to kind of medicines they use. We're going to go a little bit into this real quick. Native Americans chewed willow bark. It soothes aches and pains. The active ingredient in the bark is forget what that salsinian chemical that in 1897 formed the basis of the discovery of aspirin, the most commonly used drug in the world, believe it or not.
That's salicin.
Salicin. Salicin?
Salicin. Yep.
Salicin. Okay. Thank you. Okay, what are the 4 sacred medicines Native Americans use? Cedar, sage, sweetgrass, and tobacco are sacred to the indigenous peoples across North America. These herbs are used to treat many illnesses and are crucial in many ceremonies, as we already know. Ah, yes. Off the hook, you're going to want to stick around for a little bit. We got some good stuff coming up for you. And we got Max Visions in the house. Pa Joe's in the house. I'm going to give a shout out here. Pearl Jones has showed up tonight. Thank you for being here, along with F. Kitty and Mary Wins.
Can I add something about the tobacco and the 4 sacred? Also, a true medicine man or shaman, and in my opinion, there is a difference. Where one is more of an herbalist and the other is more of a spiritual guide. The shaman is more of a spiritual guide, and the medicine man is showing up herbs and cooking stuff up, and but I just forgot what I was going to. Oh, what? Dang it! Oh, I forgot what I was going to.
Oh yeah. We got Hawaiian. I found some stuff on Hawaiian medicine. Yep, off the hook. And she's like, he needs to study up a little more research. Well, I did. I found some things on Hawaiian stuff. It's hard to find Hawaiian stuff. Healing medicine ways, tradition healers and healing. Native Americans, Alaska Natives, and Native Hawaiian healers they all have a long history of using indigenous or native plants for a wide variety of medical purposes. Medical plants and their applications are as diverse as the tribes who use them. Beyond their medical benefits, indigenous plants were a staple of Native American people's diet before Western contact, of course. We introduced them to all kinds of crap. And for their health. In Hawaii, the I don't even know how to say that word, wahane diet and the pre-capped and cooked diet aim to reduce empty calories, fat, and additives and promote a healthier, more balanced diet by restoring the role of indigenous foods. Alaska natives and various Indian tribes have similar projects emphasizing traditional foods in this very real sense of food medicine. Hawaiian medical plants, native Hawaiian medical plants.
Medicinal.
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 Sorry. My
No,
mind,
it's all right, but it's medicinal.
my mind sees it and my voice comes out with a different word. I'm like, huh. I do that with numbers too. Hawaiian medicinal plants grow in many areas, including in the vicinity of, I have no idea what this word is, Inusitis or temples, the sites that are considered sacred. In ancient times, Hawaiian traditional healers would practice, oh boy, I'm not Hawaiian, I can't, la hu, la, la, au, la, paho. I am messing that up so bad. Temples, yeah.
The print's too small for me to see, so I can't help you out. Oh, what I remembered I was going to say about a shaman medicine man is that a really good one has an eagle feather. Because eagle feathers still to this day, and when we pulled the eagle card, it talks about the eagle feather and how important it is.
Yeah. Okay. Hawaiian traditional. Can you see that now? La huni, la pahu. A medical healing is some, I don't know what, using plants from around the something and the neighboring forests. So they were using plants there. Most Hawaiian medicinal plants are foods that have additional curative properties. Healers view food as medicine, along with fresh, clean air and water. In all cases, healers offer a prayer to ask permission and give thanks for the medicines before harvesting and preparing them, and ask permission to facilitate medicinal healing on the behalf of the creator.
Yep.
How cool is that? Now, I had this website where you could click the plants, but I don't know what any of these plants. It looks like a palm tree. I don't know what some of these other ones are. But since I copied it, I couldn't do it. You know.
Yeah.
But there's a bunch of them. I did do some of these ones because these are of the Southwest. F. Kitty probably knows some of these. The purple cone flower, Lakota name. I am not going to try to pronounce that. It's a patus of the root is applied to wounds, swelling, and sores. The roots and seed heads are chewed to relieve toothache. Oh, I got to remember that. Sore throat. I could use that. And other ailments. A decoction of the root is used to boost the immune system and relieve flu and cold symptoms, and in over-the-counter health products for enhancing the immune system and fighting off illness. So this little flower, I'm sure everybody's seen it. I've seen these flowers before. I planted them in my flower garden last year. Believe it. Echinacea. She says echinacea. Yeah. That's it. Echinacea.
Now by the way, there are different types of echinacea. Yeah. And so one's more potent than the other. So people go, "Ooh, there's a coneflower." Yes, but what variety of the coneflower?
That's true. The purple coneflower.
But not everybody knows that. They see the coneflower and go, medicinal. Not so,
That's why it's important to get a book.
Yep.
Where it has pictures.
And to read about them, because whether or not, you may say, somebody says, well, that's a coneflower and you don't have your book. and you go, well, I can't remember if it's purple or pink or yellow or whatever, but I do know that there are different types, and I do know, so they're read up on it too. Just don't look at the pictures.
Yep.
That
Here we
looks like,
are. What?
go ahead. I was going to say it looks like ginger.
Yeah, it's bitterroot.
Oh, bitter root.
Yeah. Connotation of the root is taken for fever, sore throats, cough, stomach problems, heart disease, blood pressure, and diabetes. A poultice of the crush root used externally for muscle cramps. So there you go. And that's what it looks like. Bitterroot. Probably walked on it, probably dug it up, threw it out of your garden, and you didn't know it did all of that stuff now, did it? Did you? I've seen this plant lots of times and chopped it down because it was in the way. It was such a weed. The OSHA, or scientific name, Legusium porter. I don't know what that means. I can't pronounce any of that stuff. You know I'm really bad at that. A decoction of the root or seeds is used to treat poor circulation, fevers. I don't know why I can't talk tonight. Bronchitis, cramps. The root is burned and then smoke inhaled deeply through the nose to relieve headache and to eliminate sinus infections. Well,
Oh, let me go back. Let me go back up there. There's a word. It's called deconcoction.
oh, the deconcoction, this one?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
you were saying something else, but a deconcoction. That's how you pronounce that word.
Oh, okay. Deconcoction. Okay, that's how you spell it. I didn't know. Sorry. I am really bad at that stuff. You
Well,
know,
I'm just trying to help. You know.
I appreciate it because I should have took a few more years of school and studied the dictionary.
I don't know.
Uh,
There are people to this day that can't pronounce words, and they have degrees. So anyway.
yeah, I appreciate the help. That's why you're my co-host, because you're smarter than me. You
I
got
don't know if smartness is it, but
well, you got a few. How about I put it? You got a few wise years ahead of me.
I'm just older. Well, I studied it too. I studied theater, and I studied public speaking, and I studied English and the right pronunciation of stuff. So yeah, I, for those folks who just went. No offense to folks who just went to school, but that was sort of my where I was headed. Anyway, go ahead, Robert.
Um, a bit, well, because of money, huh? Anyway, Devil's Club. I've seen this stuff before. Is also known as Alaskan ginseng. Huh. Used by the Tinglet name. I don't know how to pronounce that either. Scientific name, I can't pronounce that. Some Latin word. The most noted uses of devil's, we'll just go with Devil's Club, I can say that, are for colds, cancer, depression, stomach problems, and also for broken bones, burns, coughs, chest congestion, and inflammation. It is considered strong medicine due to its effects on the pharma, spiritual aspects, and should be used only under the guidance of a traditional healer. Huh. I have to study up on that one. That's pretty cool. It will help you with your broken bones and burns, coughs, and chest congestion. Huh. Well, how about that? Well, anyway.
You have to know how to apply it, and I would bet you, because of some of the folks that I've the herbalists that I've known over the years, and probably in that you must prepare it a certain way and put it in a salve in order to use it on the outside. You know what I mean? So, but anyway.
Yeah, but look at it. I mean, the stuff we need is always all around us. Look at it. Use it for colds, cancer, depression, stomach problems. Oh my gosh, lots of stuff. And one of my most favorite ones, dandelion, and I can say that one. Dandelion is a is a generous source of vitamins A, B, C, and D, and various minerals. It is also useful for liver issues like hepatitis, jaundice, and is a natural diuretic. How I know that one is all of the plant parts can be used. The roots as a medicine, food, or coffee substitute. The leaves as a poultice or a salad, and the flowers as food or medicine. Wow, and we always thought those things were weeds.
Yep.
So there you go. And last but not least, the willow leaves. The Athabascan name I can't pronounce, but we'll just call them willow leaves. Willow leaves are used as a poultice or a bath for skin infections or irritations, and the leaves can be chewed and placed on insect bites for pain or pain relief. Willow ash can be sprinkled on severe burns or to prevent infections in cuts. Willow is used in some forms of over-the-counter aspirin. Willow aspirin compounds are organic and less volatile than their chemically made counterparts. So how about that one?
And by the way, speaking of aspirin, because I have to take a baby aspirin once a day, the aspirin you buy over the counter is not aspirin.
Uh-huh.
It's made with a drug called NSAID. And it is an aspirin substitute. So if you want aspirin, you can't buy it just off the shelf anymore. You have to have a prescription for real. Yep. I found that out because of my heart condition, right? So, but I got this little bottle of aspirin, and they're expensive too, buddy. But you have to have a prescription to get baby aspirin. Just to let you all know, what you buy in the store is not aspirin. And it'll say right on the back, NSAID.
So it says aspirin, but when you boil it down, it's just a brand name.
Yeah, and you can get other pain relievers and analgesics. And if it says acetaminophen, well, that's what it's got in it. But if it says NSAID, well, that's what's in it.
Wow.
You know, an aspirin bottle will still say aspirin, but on the back it'll say primary ingredient is NSAID. So you're not getting aspirin like you did in the old days.
Well, there you go, people. Get out there and collect those willow leaves.
Yep. Yeah. If you want true aspirin, yeah, you better go get some willow.
Yeah, learn how to make your own aspirin at home, but do the studying so you don't kill yourself. This is not doctor's advice. Go to a professional.
Really, this is not doctor's advice.
They were just saying, learn about it first. Go to a professional and have them make you up a batch of willow leaves. Yeah.
Find an old country pharmacist.
Yep.
They know stuff, and miss the old days. Yep. But find an old country pharmacist, not necessarily one at the CVS pharmacy. Find it. My pharmacy is an independent organization that's been around for almost 100 years. And they give away free calendars every year too. Those independent pharmacists that I've known over the years, they just know stuff, and we'll chat with you if they're not busy. And where the bigger chain store pharmacists are not necessarily going to chat with you in the same way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know what you're saying.
Support your local pharmacy. I found out that when I went to get some of my heart medicine, they said, "Oh, go down to CVS," which I used to, buy my drugs from. used to buy my drugs at CVS. But I went down, and so I priced them out, and then went down to my local pharmacy that I've been using for years. And the independent pharmacy was like $60 cheaper on just one drug. And I was like, no, CVS is seriously overcharging on a lot of drugs because they're a big conglomerate organization. But, so support your local pharmacy. They might be able to actually give you the same drug for, 50% off or more. It's amazing. Just saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's all about the insurance plans sometimes, though, too. I know certain companies like mine that says you got to go to certain places to get your medications or something. People are all upset, like, I can't go downtown and nope, you got to go 58 miles that way.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's about all I got. I got some other stuff on creation stories and stuff, but we ain't gonna do them tonight. But I do have the Seneca myths coming up, and here we go. And I got your stuff all ready to go.
Oh, is it my turn? Let me make a couple of comments about the shaman medicine man. And I think I made it, but let me do it again. The difference between a shaman, in my humble opinion, from having met shamans and medicine people and elders over the years myself, over 30 years, actually more than that, but at least 30 years, that the shaman is more spiritual. And so if there's maybe a moral issue in the tribe, they'll go and consult the elders, and the elders will consult the shaman. Where if it's a physical ailment or something, they go get the medicine man. They don't, now sometimes the medicine man is the shaman, that there aren't two spiritual folks in the tribe. And sometimes the medicine man is actually a woman, because she knows all about, she's the grandmother of the tribe, and she is cared for the children and ailed, and so if it's an internal ailment, a lot of times they'll go get granny. But she's not a man, but she is still a medicine person. They would go to the elder woman in the clan, and there is a chief that of a tribe down here in Cairo, Georgia, and she female, and she's been chief for 25, 30 years now that I can recall. There was also that I think we talked about it way back when, and they actually put her picture on a nickel or a quarter or something, kills something anyway, and she went all the way to Congress and so forth. And so women have been very prevalent in tribes over the years, which also make them medicine people. Okay. And a lot of times because the guys are literally out protecting or out hunting or whatever. And it was hard for a man until he got past a certain age. It was hard for a man to not be a brave, because they needed them. We need hunters. You can't sit around the teepee all day and study, plants with grandma. You got to get your ass out of the teepee and go hunt with us, boy. And so. And that's the other side of this. As young people, even for myself, I didn't know that I was going to end up as a shaman in training. I didn't know that I was kind of sort of end up, leaning towards this spiritual side of things for myself in old age. I figured I was going to be dead by now. But But to that point though, so sometimes I've known several people who were didn't receive the word from the Creator or the word from God. This one lady, she's older than I am, and when I went to see her, she was like, "Oh, didn't you know I've been ordained as an Episcopalian priest?" And I was like, "What? You've been ordained as a priest? Seriously? Good for you." But I mean, she didn't start until she was like 60, and that's about what time I started, really seriously. So you never know what the rest of your life is going to bring. Even though you say, well, I don't have a propensity for this. Now I kind of sort of have because I studied things, and I wanted to be a priest out of the Catholic Church, and then I disowned them and went on my own. But and later on in life, you never know how that spirituality is going to come to you. So folks who are in their 40s now, don't poo-poo it, because in 25 years, if you make it that far, in 25 years, you can have a total change as far as, your representation or whatever. So, but anyway, so I think the differences between a shaman and a medicine man. Again, the shaman was more spiritual, but a good medicine man within a tribe was still very spiritual, because to be a good medicine man or shaman, you have to be on the spiritual side of things. You have to have that connection with the Creator, with the Great Spirit, with the Great Mystery. You've got to establish a connection with that. So regardless, there's just folks and they're happy to go along in the tribe every day, and they know about certain medicines and stuff, but they're not really into being the spiritual realm. And then there are folks who say, well, I want to try this. I want to try being a shaman. Well, in some cultures, if you want to be a part of the snake clan, for example, you have to be bitten by a snake. And most of the time it's a rattlesnake. And you have to survive it. Basically, in order to be accepted into the snake clan, you have to survive it. Other different types of, we've read it out of the cards that, a true shaman death sometimes means that you literally got to dig a hole and crawl in it for a day. You have to go to that mountain and be by yourself on a vision quest. And for the Australian folks, you might, go on a walkabout, which would in a lot of ways be the same type of thing. So you decide to go on a spiritual journey. Some folks have, a spiritual awakening before they go on a journey. And then they say, holy crap, I just realized something. God just did something to me, and I don't know what this is, but wow, I just had a realization, that aha moment. And then for those people, they will follow up on it and go, I just had this spiritual experience. And then they go searching as to how they got it, who was chatting with them in their head or whatever. So, but anybody that ends up going on, that's been affected in some way like that, is or has been affected by the shaman of the universe. You have been selected, whether you like it or not. And now, whether you know about medicinals or whatever, but there are people who don't know anything about medicinal plants, but they are absolutely shamans and medicine people, because they heal your spirit. They heal your soul. They heal your brain. And those folks, in a lot of ways, are just as powerful, if you will, as those who can cure a physical ailment. I'm almost done here. But one other thing, and as you were finishing up, I think in that on that one where, you know, foods are very important. You are what you eat. You know, that statement that everybody makes. So be careful what you eat, honestly, you know. And so if you're not supposed to have something and you cheat and do it anyway, and then you end up getting sick, or, you know, you've got ailments that you know, continue on, and the medicinal plants aren't doing you any good because you haven't really changed your diet. But you also have to change your brain waves too. In order for stuff to heal you, you got to believe that it can heal you.
Yeah, brain does a lot to it. So 50% of it.
Absolutely. So, you know, intent. You always hear us talking about intent, and folks talking about, you know, our intent to the universe. Well, it really does matter. And so when you put your intent out there, you know, that this food is going to heal me, or this food is going to keep me healthy, because that should be your prayer at every meal. Thank you, Creator, for this food that will nourish me and keep me healthy. Thank you. Even if it's a crummy hot dog, make sure it's a good hot dog. Harness the placebo effect. Harness a miracle of the mind. Yeah, thank you, F. Kitty. That's true. Because there have been people, and what's a placebo? A placebo's somebody says, here's the real medicine, take this. And then they say, the doctors say, here is supposed to be the real medicine. And you don't know if it is or not. The placebo is a sugar tablet, and you don't know if you're getting the real medicine or not. Now, there was, for folks who can go back to Andy of Mayberry, Andy and the Andy Griffith Show, there was a little old lady that would go into the pharmacy, and she couldn't get her pills one day. And the new pharmacist had moved in, and he was like, you know, and Andy had to go up to him. She's been coming here for 20 years, getting her little pills, and she can't do without them. And the pharmacist said, but they ain't nothing but sugar pills. And Andy said, yeah, but so what? She needs them. And so the pharmacist learned a lesson that day, you know, that sometimes the placebo is as strong or stronger than an actual pill. So little Miss Johnson went into the pharmacy, and the new pharmacist apologized and everything. But so placebo has been going around for a long time. So as the person said, F. Kitty said, you know, the placebo, it starts in your head. Even with a good medicine, it starts in your brain. I want to heal. This is going to make me better, you know. And so the foods that we eat, absolutely start saying a prayer, and try to stay, you know, as healthy as you possibly can with what you eat. So because we are all at some point shamans in training. There, yes, see, I wrapped it up. I wrapped it up. I did have an ending to that. But having, you know, me being a shaman in training in my own channel and so forth, as some of you may know, you know, that all y'all that show up here, because you're looking for more than just the regular 9-to-5 stuff that everybody else is watching or doing or whatever. So you're taking time to try to learn something different by tuning in with us. And you may do some studying on your own and look up some medicinal plants and so forth. You know, you may be called upon at some point to be a medicinal person, you know, to be an herbalist. We should all be an herbalist up to a point. But in becoming an herbalist, we get a connection to nature that you don't necessarily get. Now, folks who work outside in the garden and with flowers and plants, they get it. But folks who just dabble a little bit every once in a while, and they never get dirt under their fingernails or whatever, they don't have the same connection. So it does take that connection to be a good doctor, to be a good herbalist or medicine person. So anyway.
Yep. Well, and the thing is all of us here tonight, we were all pulled here for a reason. And if you're drawn to this show and you're listening to this either right now or in the future, the point is that, you were drawn here. You are, you meant to listen to this. Was something that is going to be inspiring to you. Now, do we have all the answers? Nope. Can I pronounce all the words? Nope. But I am here not to pronounce the words or whatever. I am on a path. I'm on a journey, and I'm here to inspire you people out there who came here to, for some odd reason, that you want to listen to us old guys talk about this, that, and the other, and maybe it'll inspire you to go out and look up some of this stuff on your own journey. Maybe learn something from all of this. It's got to be worth something on that.
And at some point, you went out. Say something, Robert. It looks like he's freezing up, folks. I can't hear him. It must be the cold weather.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, your screen froze up. It wasn't just your microphone.
I think the internet is giving me a hard time tonight.
Yeah, I just blamed it on the snow.
Yeah. See, but anyway, Pa Joe gets it. Having fellowship of minds. Yes.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so with that, we're going to get on with the story tonight. You got a good one for us tonight.
Yeah, it's a short one, and then we got another one too, if we've got time for it. Because this one's really only 3 pages long. So let me get a drink and and catch up here.
Okay.
And as always, we always appreciate the fact that you show up and listen to us old geezers. I'm ancient. Robert's not so old. I'm ancient, and how do I know that? Because I have gray whiskers coming out of my ears. That's how I know that I'm getting ancient. So, and I'm sorry I mentioned that, but for me, see, when I was like 7 years old, I was riding with my grandmother on a trolley in Dayton, Ohio, and which is basically like a bus. So I'm sitting there with her, and there's a man sitting in front of me, and being a boisterous little kid, I look and I go, Grandma, he's got hair growing out of his ears. And Grandma was mortified. And the man turned around and he looked at me and he goes, pointed a finger and he said, wait until you get old. And I was like, holy crap, what's this? Well, I got gray, you'll get gray hairs in your ears too, whether you like it or not. But anyway, so that's how I know I'm old. All right, so here goes with the stories. Swan's daughters marry earthquake son. Swans. So this is sort of a swan song. That's a joke. One day, Swan said to her 2 daughters, my daughters, I've had a great deal of trouble in rearing you. For a long time, I've eaten nothing but mushrooms. I am hungry for meat. You are old enough to marry. Earthquake, old woman, lives near here. Her son, Split Face, is a good young man and a great hunter. You must go and marry him. The girls pounded corn for the marriage bread. The mother baked 20 cakes in the ashes, wrapped them in corn husks, and put them into a basket. She painted long red stripes on each girl's face and combed their long hair. Then, giving the basket to the elder, she said, "Don't stop till you come to Earthquake's house. Don't ask the way of anyone or speak to anyone." The elder sister took the basket and the two started. About midday, they saw a middle-aged man of the owl people. He ran across the trail and called out, "I have lost my arrow. I shot at a bird and the arrow went so far that I can't find it." "I will help you hunt for it," said the elder sister, putting her basket down on a log. The younger girl didn't want to look for the arrow. She said, "Mother told us not to stop or to speak to anyone," but she followed her sister. The man ran around the girls, seized the basket, and carried it off. When the girls couldn't find the arrow, they went back to the log where they had left the basket. It was gone. And right away they knew that the old man had fooled them. They went home, and when their mother asked what had become of the basket, the second sister said, "We met a man who had lost his arrow. While we were looking for it, he stole our basket." The mother scolded the elder sister and said, "You didn't care for me. You know that I'm hungry for meat, yet you disobey me. We will make bread tomorrow, and your younger sister will carry it to Earthquake's house." The next day, the mother made marriage bread, got her daughters ready for the road, and gave them the same command as before. The girls followed the same trail. Again, they met Owl, and this time the elder sister asked how far it was to Earthquake's house. "It isn't far," said Owl. "It's right over there." And he pointed to his own house. They went to the house, and going in saw Owl's wife and his little boy. They put the basket of marriage bread down near the woman. Owl told his wife to go to the other side of the fire and pretend to be his sister. He sat down between the two girls, and when the little boy called him father, he said, "He's my sister's son. His father died yesterday. He is calling for him." And Al began to cry for his brother-in-law. Someone was heard coming toward the cabin. Then there was a kick on the door, and a man called out, "Ooh-wah! They want you at the longhouse." Owl said, "My people always call me by a nickname. They are holding a council and can't get along without me. I must go. I'll come back soon," and he went away. The younger sister said, "This isn't Earthquake's house. If we can get our basket, we will go home." When Owl's wife fell asleep, the younger girl took the basket and said to her sister, "Now we must go." They started for home. Soon they came to an opening, and in the center of the opening was a longhouse. They crept up cautiously, and looking through a crack, saw Earthquake, and near her sat her son, a nice-looking young man. There were 2 fireplaces in the house, and many men and women were sitting around them. Owl was dancing, and as he danced, people threw pieces of meat and of mush into his mouth. The girls recognized him and knew that they had been fooled again. They went into the house and, putting the basket of bread near Earthquake, they sat down, one on each side of the young man. The mother was glad. She liked the girls. When Owl saw them, he dropped his blanket and ran out of the house. Swan's daughters lived with Split Face and were happy. He was a good hunter, and they had plenty to eat. After a while, their mother-in-law said, "You must carry your mother some meat. She is hungry." Earthquake took a large quantity of meat, made a pack of it, made the pack small, and giving it to the elder sister, said, "Have your mother come back with you. I will give her a fire to live by." When Swan had eaten enough and was glad, she went home with her daughters and lived with them ever after, happy and contented. The end. I just wanted to mention that let's see, let me find it. I'll read the sentence over again. Earthquake took a large quantity of meat, made a pack of it, made the pack small, and giving it to the elder sister. Now, there've been several stories that I have read over this last year and a half or 2 years, and to where at some point, I'm not sure where they get their magic from, but they make a pack of meat and shrink it. And then when they get to wherever they're going, they strike it with a stick or whatever, and it comes back to real size again. So I just wanted to point that out, that here is another story, and it's just a portion of the sentence.
Well, but remember they do that. They do that with a lot of things. Like remember the one where the one guy made the lady small and put her on an arrow and then shot the arrow, and then when she got to the other side of the river, she got big again.
Right. Remember when she got to, I think it was an island in a lake, and he shot her to the shore. But to the point, yeah. But there, not as many people have been shrunk.
Yeah.
But there have been a lot of packages of meat. Just, or whatever the package was. Most of the time it was of meat, but that they shrunk it down so far. So I just wanted to point that out, that there's another story. Now, this is Seneca that we've been reading now for the last several months. Mm-hmm. So as a Seneca story, as part of their legends and myths, that is, it runs through the stories. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, just wanted to point it out. So how are we on time?
It is not even, we're 26 minutes into our second hour.
I don't know how long this story is. Whoops, I went past it. Dadio and his sister. So I'll read it if you think we got time.
Oh, we'll find time. Time is just a mere illusion in this world that we live in.
In this world of illusions. Yep.
Yes, that too.
All right, let me, more coffee is necessary for this. More coffee is necessary for the rest of the installment.
Who doesn't like a good story? Hands up for the people who came for the story. Yes, I think a lot of people tune in at the second half for the story part, especially on the West Coast. Like Scotty, he's just getting out of bed, and half of these other people are just tuning in because it's getting that time of day over there, because like in your neck of the woods it's getting late, mine it's getting late, and theirs it's just breaking evening.
Yep, it's 11:27 here on the East Coast.
Yeah, and it's 10:27 here in Central Time, and it'll be 10, 9, probably 8:30 over there. So it's
Yeah, on the West Coast. Yep.
West Coast, yes. We got
So
a lot of
hi,
listeners
all
over there.
y'all in the West Coast, and then folks over in the UK. It's like 4 in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but
All right,
anyway,
so we ready now? Are you? Do you have the next one in line?
it's up and ready to go. I'm waiting for you.
Okie dokie, I'll shut up. Well, I can't. I got to. Hodadio and his sister. Mush eater, wasp, whirlwind, big head, Atkoe, wampum, one of the wind characters, Shagodoewig, and long eyebrows, Dagawa Oasis. Just some of the characters. Hodadio and his sister, Yayin Inthuas, lived in a bark house. When the sister went out to plant, she fastened the door of the house so nothing could harm her little brother. She did not let him go out. She got coon's feet for him to play with and made him bows and arrows. When he played, he threw up the coon's feet and told an arrow to strike them, and the arrow always hit them before they touched the ground. One day, while his sister was at home, a voice was heard in the loft of the house saying, "Mush, brother, mush, brother." "Who is that?" asked the boy. "I thought we were alone in the house." "Poor brother," said the sister. "He is only just alive." "Well, sister, make him some mush," said the little boy. The girl uncovered a place under her couch, took out a very small kettle and a little piece of a chestnut, got water, put the least bit scraped from the chestnut into the kettle, and boiled it. As it boiled, she stirred it and struck the kettle, and as she struck the kettle, it grew, till at last it was as large as any kettle and was full of mush. When the mush was cooked, she took it off the fire, poured it into a bark bowl, and said to Hodiagio, "Go up the ladder and feed your brother." The little boy climbed the ladder and found a man lying in the loft and saying to him, "I have brought you mush, my brother." He put the bowl down near him and went away. The brother, whose name was Mush Eater, took 2 or 3 mouthfuls of the mush, and the bowl was empty. All the mush was eaten. Then he blew out 2 or 3 puffs of breath, rubbed his arms and legs, and began to sing. The boy heard singing and beating of time overhead, and a little later he heard his brother call out, "Tobacco, tobacco." And he said, "My sister, our brother wants to smoke." "Our poor brother," said the girl. "He is barely alive. He lives on chestnut pudding and tobacco." She got a big pipe, put in tobacco and a coal of fire, gave it to the little boy, and said, "Take it up to our brother." Hodiadio went up to the loft and said, "My brother, I have come with a pipe for you." "Thank you," said Mush Eater, and with one puff, he so filled the place with smoke that he nearly smothered the boy before he could get away. Soon a sound was heard as though Mush Eater had blown through the pipe stem and wrapped the ashes out of his pipe. Then he began to sing, and they thought his voice was stronger. Yea-I-Enthus tied the door, fastened in her little brother, and went out to plant. While his sister was gone, the boy thought he would like to make some chestnut mush for his brother and sing and dance for him. He found the kettle under his sister's couch, took the piece of chestnut, and scraped every bit of it into the kettle, filled the kettle with water, and when the water boiled, he began to strike the kettle. He struck it till it was as large as any kettle and full of mush. When he poured the mush out, he had a great bark bowl full. He took the bowl to the loft and said, "My brother, I have made you another bowl of mush." "Thank you, brother," said Hawkeye, who took the mush and ate it, rubbed himself, and began to sing. He was stronger now and sang a regular song. After the boy put away the kettle, he thought, "My brother, we must have a smoke." So he took all the tobacco there was, cut it up, put it in the pipe, carried the pipe to the loft, and said, "My brother, I have brought your pipe. After you have smoked, I want you to sing, and I will dance." Mush Eater drew such a puff that the little boy had to hurry down the ladder to get away from the smoke. He wasn't long down when his sister came. "Oh, sister," said he, "I've made our brother a bowl full of mush." "How did you make it?" "I cut up the chestnut and boiled it." "Oh, now he will die." "After he ate the mush, I gave him a smoke," said the boy. "How did he do that?" "I shaved up the piece of tobacco, put it in the pipe, and gave him the pipe." "Now he will surely lose our brother." "You have done great harm," said Yea-Enthus. "Well, my sister, where are the chestnuts? I will go and get more of them." "Those chestnuts grow at the eastern end of the world, and this side of them, where the tobacco grows, there are witches. Before one comes to the house of the witches, there is a river with trees thrown across to walk on. Just beyond the river are 2 rattlesnakes, one on each side of the trail, and they attack every person who goes that way. If you pass the rattlesnake safely, you will come to a mountain so steep that no man can climb it. There is put one pass through that mountain. Just beyond the pass stand 2 shaganoikus, each one half as tall as a tree. If you should succeed in passing those men and go farther, there are 2 men at the edge of an opening. The minute those men see anyone, they give an alarm, and women run up and attack whomsoever they find. If you should get by those men and reach a knoll, you would see a house, and in front of it a platform on which a woman is walking back and forth. As soon as that woman sees a stranger, she begins to sing, and witches rush out of the house and kill him. The next day, when Yea-Enthus went out to plant, she fastened the door. While she was gone, the little boy heard some living thing moving around outside, and he tried to get out and shoot it, but he couldn't open the door. Then he heard a noise on the top of the house and glancing up saw something looking down at him. He didn't know what kind of creature it was, but he said, "You are Speckled Face, anyhow, and I'll shoot you." He drew his bow and said to the arrow, "I want you to go straight to the game." The arrow struck and killed the creature. The boy wanted to bring the game in, and not being able to open the door, he dug a hole through the earth near the door, got out, brought in the game, put it in the corn mortar, covered it, and when his sister came, he said, "My sister, I have killed game." "Where is it?" asked she. "In the corn mortar," answered Hodiadio. He ran and brought the game to his sister. "That is a chickadee," said she. Yayinthu was dressed the bird, cooked it on the coals, then began to eat. The boy stood and watched her. After a while, he asked, "Is it good?" "It is good," said his sister. He looked a while longer, then asked, "Are you going to give me some?" "No. This is the first game you have killed. You mustn't eat of the first. It wouldn't be right." The next morning, the boy said to his sister, "You must tie a belt around me. I am going out." She had to do as he said. She couldn't help it. She put the belt on him and said, "You must not go north or far away. Stay near the house." Yayinthu went to her planting, and the boy went out to hunt for game. He saw a bird on a tree and said, "You must be the bird they call robin." He killed the bird, carried it to the house, and put it in the corn mortar. When his sister came, he showed it to her. "Oh," said she, "this is a robin." She dressed, cooked, and ate the robin. Didn't give the boy even one bite. The next morning, he got up early so as to go hunting in good time. After he had eaten, he said, "My sister, put on my belt." She made him ready for the day, then both went out. The girl to her planting, the boy to hunt. After he'd been out a while, he saw a bird and said, "I think you are the bird that is called Pigeon." He killed the bird, carried it home, and put it in the corn mortar. When his sister came, she dressed the bird, divided it into two parts, put one part away, and cutting the other into pieces, said she would make dumplings. She pounded cornmeal, mixed the meat with it, made 2 dumplings, and both ate of them. The next day, the boy went farther than before. He saw a bird running along and said, "You must be what they call striped tail." He drew his bow and shot the bird. When it ran, he called, "Stop! Don't break my best arrow." The bird died. The boy had all he could do to carry it home. He put it in the corn mortar, and when his sister came and saw it, she said, "This is a partridge." The next morning, Hodiadio went farther than the day before. He saw a creature coming toward him. He watched it and said, "I think it is you that the people call pine leaves hanging down." He drew his bow and shot. When the wounded bird struggled, he called out, "Stop! Don't break my best arrow." It stopped struggling and died. He tried to pick it up, but he couldn't lift it. He went to where his sister was planting and said, "My sister, I have killed big game. I can't carry it." She went with him, and when she saw the game, she said, "This is what we call turkey." She carried the turkey home, dressed it, put half away, and cooked the other half. The next day, the boy went farther than before. He found tracks in all going in the same direction and said, "My sister never told me that people live around here and that there was a trail." He put his feet in the tracks and found they were as if made by his own feet. Right before him on the trail, he saw game coming. He drew his bow, pierced the animal with his arrow, and as it went floundering along, he called out, "Don't break the arrow, it's my best one." The animal fell over and died. The boy ran up and pulled out the arrow, then went for his sister. When she came, she said, "This is coon." She caught the coon up by one leg, threw it over her shoulder, and went home. She cooked a part of the coon and made bread. While the meat was cooking, she skimmed off the oil, telling her brother that she had wanted oil for a long time. When the oil was cool, she rubbed it into her hair. The next day, when Hodiadio saw game, he said, "You must be the one they call Big Feathers." The animal saw him and turned to run. He shot, but the creature ran off out of sight. The boy thought, "I have lost my best arrow, but I'll follow the game." He hadn't gone far when he found the animal lying dead on the trail. He ran for his sister, and when she came, she thanked him and said, "This time you have killed a buck." She brought a strap braided out of corn husks so as to carry the meat home on her back. She skinned the buck and divided it. Hodiadio wanted to carry a part, so his sister cut off the feet, tied them together, and gave them to him. She carried half of the animal home and went back for the other half. The next day, Hodiadio killed a bear. They had a good meal that night, and sister had plenty of hair oil. The next day, they went out as usual. Hodiadio to the hunt, and Yathenswas to plant. The boy went to the place where he had killed the bear, but he could find no game. Then he went in a circle, and as he looked toward the north, it seemed very pleasant. There was an opening in front of him, and he thought he would go to it. Perhaps he would find game. He went to the middle of the opening where there was a house. He peeped in through a crack and saw a crowd of naked men of the wasp people dancing. Soon one of the men said, "Someone is looking at us." Another said, "Let us kill him." Hodiadio turned and ran towards the woods. The men chased him to the edge of the opening and then went back. The boy went home, took a long stick of wood from a pile his sister had gathered, carried it to the edge of the opening, stuck it into the ground, and said to it, "When the men in that house over there run after me with clubs, do you fight them and help me?" He brought a second stick, put it down by the first, and spoke to it, as he had to the other stick. He kept on in this way till he had a great many sticks standing in the ground. Then he ran to the house and looked in. The men saw him and said, "Let us kill him this time." They ran out with their clubs and pursued the boy till they came to the edge of the opening, and then the sticks became people and fought with them. They killed all of the naked men. Hodiadio dragged the men, one after another, into the house and burned up the house. Then he carried the sticks back to his sister's woodpile and went on till he came to the stump of a broken tree. The stump became a man and called out, I have caught you, nephew. The boy walked up to the man. The man said, I am Hodiontangon, the great wizard. What would you do if it should rain spears on you? Oh, said the boy, my sister and I would be glad, for we have no spears to fish with. Then he turned and ran as fast as he could. His sister was in the house. He ran around it and said, let our house be stone. And straightway it was stone. Just as he went into the house, he heard a terrible roar, and a great rain of spears came down. Some broke on the roof, others fell to the ground. When the shower was over, his sister said, you have been towards the north. I have, but I'll not go again. But while he was at play, he thought, I will go to my uncle and be the first to say, I've caught you. And he started off. He went as near his uncle as he could without being seen. Then he called a mole, entered his body, and went under the ground up to the roots of the stump where his uncle was. Then he called out, what would you say if a fire were to come and burn up that stump and the woods and all there is around here? Oh, my nephew, don't do that. I didn't say, don't do that, when you sent a rain of spears on me and my sister. That minute, a thick smoke rose, and soon the woods were in a blaze. The fire spread to where the old man was. He fell to the ground, his head burst, and an owl came out of it and flew away. Ho-daddy-o went on, but he hadn't gone far when he came to an opening in which there was a house. He crept up to the house and, looking in through a crack, saw an old man with both eyes closed. All at once the old man called, come in, nephew, come in. The boy went in, and the old man said, I always play dice with people who come to see me. I will play with you. He brought out 6 night-owled eyes for dice and said, if they all turn up the same, the throw will count 5. If not, it will count 1. The old man wanted the boy to play first, but he refused. Then the old man put the 6 eyes into a dish and shook the dish. The eyes went out through the smoke hole, and when they came back to the dish, they counted but 1. Now, said the nephew, take your dice out of the dish. I have dice of my own. Hodaddio put in his dice, which were woodcock's eyes, shook the dish, and threw the eyes up. They went through the smoke hole and high into the air. The boy kept saying, let them all come of one color. But the uncle said, let them come of different colors. All came alike. The old man lost. Nephew, said he, let me have 1 smoke. Oh, no, said the boy, I can't do that. He cut off the old man's head. Then he went on till he came to a 3rd opening. In the center of the opening was a high rock, and on the rock was an enormous head with big eyes and long hair. A whirlwind, a dagwanoyant. The boy went up to the rock, and the head called out, my nephew, I have been wishing that you would come to see me. Now we will play hide and seek. Hodaddio was to hide first. the head faced the other way. That minute, Hodiato became a flea and hid in the long bushy hair of Dagwanonoyet. Then he called out in a faraway voice, "You can't find me, uncle. You can't find me." Dagwanoyet looked all around, up in the air, in the trees, everywhere. At last he saw a weed with a knot on its stem and said, "Nephew, you are in that knot." But he wasn't there. He looked around a second time and saw a knot on one of the trees. "You are in the knot on that tree, nephew." "I am not," answered Hodadio. When Dagwanoyet couldn't find the boy, he was terribly frightened. "There is danger," said he, and he flew off the rock and went far away. Then he rose above the clouds and sat on them. The boy called out from his uncle's long shaggy hair, "You can't find me, uncle. You can't find me." "Oh," said the uncle to himself, "I have come to the place where he is. There is danger here." And he flew off to an island in the sea. And there the boy called out, "You can't find me, uncle. You can't find me." He could not. And he flew back to the rock in the opening. And there the boy called out, "You can't find me, uncle." "I have lost the game," said Dagwanoyet. "But I didn't bet my head. You may have control of the 3 women who are pounding corn outside that house at the edge of the opening." The women were man-eaters. They were angry when they heard these words. They took their clubs and ran toward the boy to strike him. He willed them dead, and they dropped to the ground. He cut off their heads and burned up their house. The uncle and nephew became friends, and the uncle said, "Nephew, if you ever get into trouble, think of me, and I will help you." The boy went home and sat down and began to laugh. His sister asked, "What are you laughing about?" "I am laughing because I have put an end to my uncle in the first opening, and my uncle who played dice. I have beaten Dagwanoyet and frightened him terribly. I have killed the 3 women who were man-eaters." The sister said, "I thank you, my brother. Many persons have been deceived and killed by our uncles and those women." That night the boy said to his sister, "Make me parched cornmeal and 2 dumplings with bear fat in them. Tomorrow I am going to get the chestnuts." She did as he asked. The next morning he set out and kept on his way till he came to a river over which a tree had fallen. He went halfway across on the tree. 2 snakes began to rattle. He went back, caught 2 chipmunks, and then came to the tree and walked on till he reached the snake. He gave a chipmunk to each one and said, "You are free now, but I will kill you if you don't leave this place." The snakes ran away. Hodadio went on until he came to the opening. At the farther end was a mountain. He found the pass, walked in, and as he was coming out on the other side, he heard all at once, "Ho, ho, ho, ho," and saw the 2 Shagwanoiquas, half as tall as the highest tree. Keep still," said Hodadio. I have brought you dumplings. And he gave each of them a dumpling. Then he said, you are free now. You needn't guard this place any longer. Hodadio traveled on till he saw 2 white herons. He went into the woods and dug up wild beans. Then he came back, and going as near the herons as he dared, he called out, stop, stop. Here are beans for you. When they had eaten the beans, he set them free, saying, go from here and do not come back. He went on until he saw the woman walking back and forth on a platform. He peeled bark from a slippery elm tree, marked it off in small pieces, and made it turn to wampum. Then he called a mole and said, carry me to the platform. The mole took him to the platform, and before the woman could call out, he gave her the wampum and said, keep quiet. He left the mole and went to a tree where there were great piles of chestnuts. He took a nut, split it, put 1/2 into his bag, and hurried back. He had almost reached the woods when the woman on watch cried, I have seen a man. One of the 3 sisters ran out and looked at the woman, who changed her words and called, I have lied. The sisters were angry and wanted to kill the woman. She called again, I have seen a man. The mother said, do your best, my daughters. Do your best. It must be Hodiadio. Kill him and finish his family. They saw Hodiadio off in the distance. The elder sister ran ahead. When she was near the boy, she raised her club to strike, but he disappeared in the ground, and she struck her knee pan such a blow that she fell and could go no further. The next minute, Hodadio was up and walking along again. The second sister overtook him and raised her club to strike. He disappeared. She struck her knee pan and fell. The youngest sister tried with the same result, then the old woman. All 4 were disabled, and Hodadio went home unharmed. He gave his sister the half chestnut and said, make plenty of mush for our brother. One day when Hodadio was playing near the house, he cried out suddenly and fell to the ground. His sister ran to him and asked, what is the matter? Where are you hurt? I am not hurt. Why do you cry? I heard Otego Dakwasis sing a song and call my name. He says I am his brother. That is true, said Yeyentwas. He is in the east at the place where the sun comes up. He is tied to a stake, and people burn him with brands of fire and torment him to make him cry. His tears are wampum, and when they fall, people run and pick them up. Where does the tobacco grow? Asked Hodadio. On the other side of the world, where the long eyebrows live. He stole our tobacco from us and carried it off. No one can conquer him, for he is a great wizard. That night the boy told his sister to pound parched corn and make meal for him. In the morning, when he was ready for the road, he put the bundle of food on his back and started. But the bundle was so heavy that at midday he had only reached the edge of the opening where their house was. he sat down there and ate. Ianthus, who was watching him all the time, said, "Poor brother, I think he will come back." She looked again. He was gone. In the evening, Hodadio hunted for a hollow tree. He found one, crawled in, and was lying there quietly when he heard footsteps. And soon a man came to the tree and called out, "Hodadio, are you here?" "I am," answered the boy. "Well, what would you do if a Shagadowick should come to kill you?" "I would have sport with him." The man went away, and soon Shagadowick came. Hodadio took aim and hit him with an arrow. Then he drew back into the tree and went to sleep. In the morning, he saw a trail with trees broken and torn up, and after a while, he found Shagadowick dead. He pulled out his arrow and went on. Soon the boy came to a large lake. On the opposite side of the lake was a village. He searched till he found an oak puff ball. Placing the ball at the edge of the water, he entered it and caused a wind to blow. The ball swept over the lake. Hodadio went through the village till he came to the last house on the other side. In that house lived an old woman with her grandson. When Hodadio asked for shelter, the old woman said, "We have nothing to eat." "I don't want food," said the boy. "You may stay," said the grandmother. The next morning, Hodadio said to the old woman's grandson, "Let us go hunting." When they had gone quite a distance, they came to a hollow tree, frequented by a bear. Hodadio struck the tree and said, "Come out." The bear came out. Hodadio shot it, and the two boys carried the carcass home. When they dropped it on the ground in front of the door, it made a great noise, and the grandmother called out, "What is that?" When she saw the bear, she was glad. They dressed the bear and cooked some of the meat. As they sat down to eat, a young girl came in, and the old woman asked her to eat. When they were through eating, the girl carried a piece of the meat home to her mother, who said, "Go back, carry them bread, and get some of their meat in exchange." The girl did as told, and she got 2 large pieces of meat for her bread. Hodadio said, "Others will come to exchange bread for the meat. Let them have it. Bread is what we want." Towards night, a man came, kicked the door, threw it open, and said, "I notify you to come to the longhouse. There is a man there who sheds wampum instead of tears. If you pick up wampum after it has fallen, it is yours. If you get more than others do, it is your good luck." The next day, Hodadio, with the old woman and her grandson, went to the longhouse where Otiaguasasis was tied and tormented with firebrands. Before going in, each boy got a bundle of dry reeds to light pipes with. There were many people in the house. When the man who was being tortured saw his brother, he smiled. One of the women saw this and said, "The bound man smiled when the boys came in. It must be that one of them is Hodiago." One of the men said, "It is well these boys have come. they can bring fire for our pipes. In the longhouse were two women who held firebrands. First, one of the women burned the young man on one side of his body, then the other burned him on the other side. Each time the brand touched his flesh, he cried out, and wampum fell in showers. The people gathered all they could. They struggled and fought for it, and when everyone had enough, they were sent away. The chief said, "Tomorrow you will come again." The boys went home together, and Hodiadio said, "The man they torture is my brother, and tomorrow I am going to destroy these people." The next day, when Hodiadio went to the longhouse, he heard people say that the brands wouldn't burn. They were not dry enough. Then the chief said, "We will rest. After a while, the brands will get dry and burn. Let us lie down." Hodiadio brought deep sleep on all. He released his brother, took him out to his new brother, the old widow's grandson, and shut the door securely. Then he ran around the house and said, "I want this house to be stone, and I want it to be red hot." Instantly, the longhouse became stone and red hot. The man-eaters woke up and ran around inside. One said, "I will go out through the smoke hole." Another said, "I will go through the ground," but not one escaped. On one side of the village, Hodiadio found piles of bone. He collected them under a hickory tree, pushed the tree, and cried out, "Rise, or the tree will fall on you." A crowd of men sprang up, and among them were many of Hodiadio's relatives. Hodiadio took his brother to the old widow's house. She was glad and said, "He is my grandson. I came for him years ago. I was captured and had to live here with the man-eaters." "My brother must stay here and rest," said Hodiadio. "I am going away for a while. I have work to do." He started, and as he hurried along, he heard the noise, dum, 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 of long eyebrows, preparing tobacco, pounding it with a mallet. The boy went to the house and found the old man sitting inside, pounding and singing, and his song said, "He makes tobacco, and I am he." When the rolls were ready, he tied them up with bark strings. 2 or 3 times, Hodiadio called out, "Hello, uncle, I have come." But the old man gave no answer. The boy took a mallet that was lying near and struck the old man on the head, saying, "I have come to visit you." Long Eyebrows paid no attention. The boy hit him again and said, "Uncle, I have come to visit you." "I think mice have thrown the stone bowl down," said Long Eyebrows, but he kept at work. The boy struck him again. The old man raised his upper eyelids, which hung down over his face, tied them back with bark strings, and taking a shell, he scraped his eyes out clean and said, "I think someone has come in." He looked, saw Hodiadio, and asked, "What are you here for?" "I came for tobacco." "You will get no tobacco," said the old man. "I will kill you." He started up, chased Hodiadio out of the doors and around the house. The boy was far ahead, but at last he turned and, letting 2 arrows fly, killed Long Eyebrows. Then he took tobacco and threw it toward the west, saying, as he threw it, Go to my sister, Yaenthus, far off in the west, picked up the rolls and said, Thank you, brother, thank you. When he had sent all the tobacco home, he went back to where he had left his brother and the men he had brought to life. He told the men to go to their homes. Those who remembered where their homes were went. Those who didn't know where to go said to him, We will go home with you. The old woman's grandson was one of the man-eaters, but he promised never to eat human flesh again, and Hodadio left him in the house at the edge of the village. The next morning, Hodadio and his party started. After a while, he stopped and said, There are 2 of my uncles with us. They will show the way. I must go on alone. He wanted to reach home first. When he met his sister, he told her how he had brought many of their relatives to life and saved his brother. And now, said he, we must get ready for them. He marked out spaces with his feet, each space as large as the house he wanted. Then he wished for the house, and it was there, with everything in it. When the houses were ready, he went out to meet the people who were coming. He gave each one a house, but there were not men enough for the houses he had made. Then he said, They are not all here yet. After he had been home for a long time, he began to hear the sound, dum, 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 very often. Then he remembered the old woman's grandson, and he said to himself, I will go and see if he is keeping his promise. As Hodadio went on, he heard the noise, dum, 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 and went forward till he came to the center of the man-eater's village. He went into a house, no one there. He went into another, no one there. He entered every house, all were empty. At last he saw smoke at the opposite side of the village, and going to the house the smoke came from, he found an old man. The old man rose up, threw off his blanket, and said, You have caused me misery and pain. Now kill me. I have not caused you misery and pain, said Hodadio. It may be that the old woman's grandson is making you all this trouble. It is time for him to come, said the old man. I and my granddaughter are the only persons left in the village. A young woman came from her hiding place, and Hodadio said, If the old woman's grandson is eating human flesh, he must kill me before he eats any more. You must help me all you can. If we fight, we will begin here and go westward. At the end of 10 days, we will come back, fighting as we come. There will be nothing left of us but our heads. You must have a kettle of boiling oil ready to throw on my skull. But do not mistake me for him. If you do, I shall die, and so will you and your grandfather. He heard the old man's cry out, and going to him, found that the old woman's grandson was there, cutting flesh from his legs and thighs and saying, I don't know where to take the next piece from. My friend, said Hodadio, you promised not to eat human flesh. Let us fight, said the other. They began to fight, going westward as they struggled, and soon they disappeared into the woods. At times, for a number of days, the young woman heard their cries and groans. She heated the fat and had it ready. One day, they came back into the opening. Skeletons terrible to look at. They rushed at each other and fell back exhausted. When they closed again, the skeletons were gone. Only naked skulls were left. One of the skulls rolled up to the young woman and said, "Now is the time to do as I told you." The other skull rolled up that minute and said the same thing. The girl kept her eyes on the second skull and poured the fat on it to it. "Now you have killed me," said the other skull. She paid no heeds to the words, but picking up the skull she had poured the fat on, she carried it to the house, and soon Hodadio was in full flesh and health. The old man said to him, "You have saved our lives. Now you must have my granddaughter for a wife." "Very well," said Hodadio, "but I'll cure you first." He spat on the palms of his hands and rubbed the old man where his flesh had been cut off, and right away he was well. "Now," said Hodadio, "I want you to help me." They went with him to the edge of the woods, where a great many bones were lying on the ground. They gathered them up, put them near a hickory tree. Then Hodadio pushed the tree and called out, "Rise up, or the tree will fall on you." The bones rose up that minute as living men and went back to their own places. Hodadio and the old man and his granddaughter started for Yeyenthwa's home. After they had gone some distance, Hodadio said, "I must go for chestnuts for my brother. I will overtake you." He traveled till he came where he could see the woman walking back and forth on a platform. He got slippery elm bark and turned it into wampum. Then he called a mole and said, "Take me to that woman." He made himself small, went into the mole's body, and the mole went underground till it came to the platform. Then Hodadio came out of the mole and said to the woman, "I will give you this wampum if you will not tell the women that I am here." Then he called all the moles and sent them into the house to find the hearts of the 4 women. They found them under a couch. Hodadio seized them and started off. That minute, the woman on the platform sang out, "Hodadio has come." The mother screamed, "Hurry after him, my children. Kill him, for he is the youngest of his family." The eldest daughter ran ahead. As she was coming near, Hodadio crushed one of the hearts, and she fell to the ground, dead. The second sister came up. He crushed the second heart, and she died. The younger sister was served in the same way. The mother came. He crushed the 4th heart, and she died. He ground up the 4 hearts and burned them together with the 4 bodies. The woman on guard was Hodadio's sister. She was boneless, nothing but a skin pouch. Close by was a pile of bones. The young man took the skin, put it on the pile, and pushing over a hickory tree that stood there, called out, "Rise up, or the tree will fall on you." That moment, many people sprang up. With them was Hodadio's sister, now in full flesh. He went to the chestnut tree, and taking one nut, He threw it to his sister in the west and told the other nuts to follow it. All the nuts followed the first one, and as they went through the end of the house, Iantha collected and stored them away. Then Hodadio wished for the chestnut trees to be around his sister's house. Now the young man went home with his sister and friends he had found, and when they had taken their places, there was one person still lacking. The people were living in a chestnut grove. 2 men came to get chestnuts for a person near death. Very well, said Hodadio, I will give you a chestnut, but you must not lose it. Give me your arrow, I will hide the nut. A man will meet you. He will say, Stop, my nephews, and then come towards you. But that minute say to him, Let us see who can shoot farthest. And before he reaches you, do you shoot away your arrow and save the chestnut. If you lose this nut, I will not give you another. They went their way and soon met a man who said, Oh, nephews, I have waited a long time for you to come. Let us see who can shoot farthest, said the man who had the chestnut. The stranger sprang forward to snatch the arrow and barely missed it. He was angry and said, You are not my nephews. Go your way. They hurried along, found their arrow, and went home. The next day, Hodadio said, I still have work to do. I must go west this time. He hadn't gone far when he came to an opening and saw a lake before him, but no land beyond. Between him and the lake was a house from which smoke was rising. He walked up to the house, pushed open the door, went in, and found an old man mending moccasins. The old man looked up and said, Well, my nephew, I have been waiting for you a long time. I am from your village. I am ready to go home. But first, we will eat together. He had a kettle of corns and beans with plenty of bear meat in it. After they had eaten, he said, Now we will go to my island and look for game. They went to a canoe and stepped in. Then the old man called ducks to row the canoe. They came, small white birds with black heads, and paddled the canoe to the island, the old man singing all the time. When they landed, the old man said, I will go to the upper end of the island. You go to the lower. We will meet in the middle and see how much game each of us has. Hodadio started, but soon he heard the old man's song, and turning around saw him rowing towards the mainland. He shouted for him to come back, but got no answer. The old man called to the creatures in the lake. If the man on the island tries to swim to me, eat him. And voices out of the water answered, We will. While standing and looking across the lake, the young man heard a voice say, Nephew, come to me. He went toward the voice, but saw only a pile of bones covered with moss. The bones asked, Nephew, do you think that you are going to die? I do, answered the young man. A man-eater is coming to kill you, said the bones. But do me a service, and I will tell you how to save yourself. Go to that hollow tree over there and bring my pouch here. Let me smoke, then I will tell you what to do. Hodadio brought the pouch, cut and put tobacco into the pipe and lighted it. Smoke went out through all the fissures of the old man's skull and his eyes and his nose and his ears. When he had finished smoking, he said, "Put my pouch away." The young man put the pouch in the tree and then went back to the bones, which said, "You must cut some red willows. Of the larger ones, make mannequins. Of the smaller ones, make bows and arrows. Run to 3 different places on the island, and at each place, put a mannequin in the crotch of a tree. Give it a bow and arrow and say to it, 'Shoot the dog when it comes.' When you have placed the last one, come to me, and from here go to the end of the island, step off the land, and walk in water till you come to an overhanging bank opposite the landing place. There the dogs cannot find you." Hodadio did as his uncle told him to do. That evening, the man-eater with 4 dogs came in a canoe and began to hunt for Hodadio. Starting from the pile of bones, the dogs went to the tree where the pouch was and back. Then they went on till they came to the first mannequin. The man-eater followed the dogs, singing as he ran, "There are no dogs like mine, there are no dogs like mine." Suddenly, the man-eater saw a man in the crotch of a tree, pointing an arrow at one of his dogs. The man let the arrow fly, and a dog dropped dead. The man-eater shot the man. When the dog sprang forward to catch him, the man-eater called out, "Don't eat the body, don't eat the body." But when he came up, he saw the dogs biting bits of red willow. He called the dogs off and followed the tracks farther. They came to the second mannequin, and a second dog was killed. The man-eater was very angry. The dogs ran on, and soon he heard them growling fiercely. They had stopped at a pile of bones. The man-eater took his club, pounded the bones, and said, "I ate your flesh long ago, and still you try to deceive me." The dogs started on the trail again and ran for a long time, unless they came to the third mannequin. The mannequin killed one of the dogs. The man-eater then killed him, but when he touched the ground, he was only a bit of willow. Daylight began to come. The man-eater said, "I will go home now, but when it is dark, I will come again, and then I will be sure of the game." He brought his dead dogs to life, got into his canoe, and left the island. When all was quiet and daylight had come, Hodadio left his hiding place and went to his uncle, who said, "My nephew, bring my pouch and let me have a smoke. Then I will tell you what to do." He brought the pouch, filled and lighted the pipe, and put it into his uncle's mouth. The skull smoked with great pleasure, letting the smoke out through every seam, through the eyes, the nose, the ears. "Thank you, my nephew. Take the pouch back, and we will talk." Hodadio put the pouch away. Then his uncle said, "Go to the place where the canoe always comes to shore. Dig a hole and bury yourself in the sand, leaving out only the end of your nose." While the young man was covering himself, he heard Shakwadokwa, the man who had brought him to the island, coming again, singing to the ducks. Soon the canoe scraped on the sand, and a voice said, "Now I'll find the place where my nephew has scattered his blood." As soon as the man was out of sight, Hodadio jumped up, called the ducks, pushed the canoe into the water, and began to sing. "Now we paddle, my ducks. Now we paddle." The canoe was far out in the water when Shakgadowik saw it. He ran to the shore and screamed, "Let me in! Let me in!" Hodadio paid no attention to him, but speaking to all the creatures that lived in the lake, he said, "If he tries to swim after me, eat him up." Then out of the water came as many voices as there were living things in the lake, and they all said, "It will be done. It will be done." Shagadoweek ran back and forth on the shore, but he could not get away. When night came, he climbed a tree. At dusk, the man-eater came with his dogs and began to look around for Hodadio, whom he thought was on the island yet. At last the dogs come to the tree where Shakodogwak was. They barked furiously, and when the man-eater came up, Shagodoikwat cried, "Don't shoot me! I am your servant." "You can't fool me," said the man-eater, and he let an arrow fly. The man fell to the ground. The man-eater threw the body into his canoe and left the island. The next morning, Hodadio said, "I will go to the man-eater's house." He pushed out the canoe and sang for the ducks. They came and swam on towards dark. Then Hodadio saw a house near the water. He brought the canoe to shore, hid it under the water, and said to the ducks, "You may go your way till I come." A woman came out of the house with 2 pieces of bark. She put one piece of bark by the edge of the water. Hodadio stepped on it. Then she put the second piece of bark before the first. He stepped on the second. Then she put the first before the second. He stepped on the first. In this way, he reached the house without leaving a track on the ground. Hodadio said to the woman, "I have come for you. I am your brother." "I will go with you," answered the woman, "but you must stay here till midday tomorrow." And then she hid him under her couch. Soon the barking of dogs was heard, and then footsteps. The first dog came in with open mouth. The woman threw a bone at him and then hit him on the head. The man-eater called out, "Oh, you've killed one of my dogs." "Why do they run at me?" asked she. "I have done nothing to them." He called them off and then said, "I had bad luck today. I found nothing but a little cub." He cooked his game with pounded corn, and when he finished eating, he said, "My food was good and tender. Now I will take a smoke. But it seems to me you have 2 breaths." "That is too much to say," answered the woman. "You might as well kill me." The next morning, the man-eater said, "I'll not go hunting on that island again. I'll go on the other side of the lake." And he went away. When he had been gone for some time, the woman said to her brother, "Now you can come out." He came from under the couch. The 2 went to the lake and, raising the canoe, rowed away as quickly as they could. When in the middle of the lake, they heard the man-eater shout, "You can't get away from me." He ran to his house, got a hook and line, and saying, "Catch the canoe," hurled it into the lake. Straight away the hook was in the canoe, and the man-eater was pulling the canoe to shore. All at once the woman saw that the trees on the shore were coming nearer. Then she saw the hook and line, and she screamed to Hodadio to break the hook. He broke the hook, freed the canoe, and it went out again to the middle of the lake. The man-eater screamed, "You can't get away from me!" And he ran along to the bottom of the lake, raging as he went toward them. Then Hodadio said, "Let there be ice over the water, so thick that nothing can break through, and let our canoe be on the ice." When the man-eater thought he was under the canoe, he sprang up with all his might. He struck the ice with such force that it cracked everywhere. The ice didn't break, but the man-eater broke his head and died. Hodadio caused the ice to melt as quickly as it had formed, and with his sister, he rowed to the end of the lake, then traveled on land. When they reached home, they went in at the western door, went around on the south side to the east, and Hodadio led his sister to her place, which was at the northwest corner. All the family were at home now, and all were happy. The end. Finally. That was a long story there.
That it was. That was the longest story I think ever was. Oh my goodness. I was thinking I would have been 3 or 4 pages, but it was more like 10 or 15 pages. Wow.
Yeah, it was. So it was an interesting story, though. He went around and collected all of his family, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think parts of that story we had heard before, you know, we'd talked about this, where he goes to a pile of bones and a hickory tree and tells them all to get up, or, you know, and so
plays the game, cuts off their heads.
Yeah. But it was different. He, you know, there was only one head chopping. In this story.
No. He chopped off that one guy's head, and then he went back and one guy bet him the whirlwind, and then he chopped off the 3 ladies' heads. Remember?
Oh yeah, that's true. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess there was some head chopping.
Yeah, always some head chopping. Oh, that's right. Chloe says, great story. Great story.
Well, I guess in a way, some of these stories, to me show how important family is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the tribe. Well, uncle. Well, you know, uncle could be anybody. You know, grandmother could be anybody. You know, it's how the person treats you, as to, you're not my nephew, you know, as it was in the story. You're not my nephew, because he wouldn't go along with whatever it was. But so anyway, I've sort of pulled a card, and it's the mountain lion, and it's leadership.
Okay.
And mountain lion medicine involves lessons on the use of power in leadership. It is the ability to lead without insisting that others follow. That's an interesting. It is the understanding that all beings are potential leaders in their own ways. The use and abuse of power in a position of influence are part of this great cat's medicine. By observing the graceful pounce of mountain lion, you will learn how to balance power, intention, physical strength, and grace. This relates in human terms to the balance of the body, the mind, and the spirit. The giant feline never wastes anything. It only kills when it needs for survival. The female lion is the hunter who graces her table in a style akin to Mother Energy. If Mountain Lion has come to you in a dream or in the cards, it is time for you to stand on your convictions and lead yourself where your heart takes you. Others may choose to follow, and lessons will multiply. In assuming the place of power that Mountain Lion affords, you must constantly be aware of keeping peace. However, you can never make everybody happy unless you lie to yourself or to others. This is human nature. Therefore, the first responsibility of leadership is to tell the truth. Ain't that the truth? Know it and live it, and your example will filter down to the tiniest cub in the pride. Responsibility is no more than the ability to respond to any situation. Panic is not a part of this sacred medicine. So leadership just isn't about leading other people, it's about leading yourself. And when you make sure that yourself is taken care of, other people will see it and follow. That's interesting. So a long story and a short card.
It all works out. It all works
out.
Yeah. Key is balance. There you go, Scotty boy. Oh, look at that. Susie Q says, first sketches I ever made was of a mountain lion. There you go. Well, we had a mountain lion bury a dead rabbit under a child's swing set. Wow. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, really.
Yep. We used to have them. Oh, yeah. Used to have them in Walla Walla, Washington. There, yeah. They're all over the place. You just don't see them. They're sneaky. Anyway, you got a show after this?
Maybe.
Okay. We'll take that as probably a yes, because I know you like.
No, this is a maybe because we ran so late tonight.
Maybe. Yeah, that's true. But don't forget, people, we're gonna have a special show on Thursday, aren't we?
Yep.
Yes. So tune in then. Tree meditation. Well, sort of.
At what time? 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock?
9 o'clock. 9 o'clock as usual.
Oh, your time, 9 o'clock.
Yeah. It'll be on at 9. So
okay, so 10 o'clock my time.
10 o'clock your time, yes.
Yep, okie dokie.
Absolutely.
Well, we love you all for coming and hanging out with tonight and putting up with a long story. I hope you enjoyed it and got something from it. So thank you all, my dear friends.
That was a good story. I can't wait to post that one. Thank you, everybody. Pod Joe, F Kitty, Chloe, Susie Q, Scotty Boy, off the hook. Everybody stuck around. Susie Q there, Elderberry, Mary Wins. Thank you, everybody, for participating, joining us tonight, having great conversation. Amber Dawn was in the house. I don't know if she's still here, but thank you, everybody. And everybody's we will see you on Thursday. I lost track, and then back on Saturday. And then Saturday I got Diane Martino's coming on from Art and Soul. So join us then. Okay. Well, with that, remember, go out and do something nice for your neighbor. Enjoy, spread the wisdom, spread the knowledge. Hope you learned something from this tonight. And if you are curious about stuff, go check it out. Go do some study. You got to do the work to get the information. Everybody, remember, be the frequency you want to receive, everyone. Love you all. Peace, everybody.
Cheers.